Welcome to the Four Corners 912 project discussion on rules of the game. For a country to exist peaceably as a unified people in the game of life, we all must be playing by the same rule. The rules for our country were established in the Constitution that was agreed upon to abide by. This was and is the supreme law of the land.
To follow the rules, you must know what they are. They are few and clear. We hope to help you all to better understand what the rules are, as we are looking to elect new representatives in local and state government offices next year.
They take an oath to uphold the constitutions of both the state and the United States.
What are they to uphold and protect?
We will begin this regular discussion beginning with the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution.
Welcome to Part 3 of the Four Corners 912 Constitutional Rights areas. Today we're doing Amendment number 3. Right, Bud? Tell me all about it.
Part 3 and Amendment 3. And it reads, "No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law."
Boy, you can explain that.
Simple, huh?
Yeah. I don't know we have that problem, do we?
We don't have that problem today. We haven't had that problem since 1776.
So how does it apply to us?
We defeated the British. They went home. We didn't have to worry about them coming and taking over our house. And we all learned in 7th grade civics that that's what was happening during the pre-revolution era, that the British would just move into a town, whether they were doing something they should or shouldn't do, they just move into your house, eat your groceries, and just basically take over. You didn't have a say in it. Now, sometimes if you had a good officer in the British Army, they did maybe leave a shilling or two on the table when they left. Most often not. They just took over. And so, bingo, end of the Third Amendment. Almost.
You mean they apply it today some way?
Huh?
It is being used some way today?
Yeah.
No. How so?
It has been considered that since you can't put the army in your house against your will, that leads to a right to privacy. That's not the way it's written. It was written as a private property issue and a liberty issue. It was not written as a right to privacy issue. We all know about the right to privacy these days. Well, where'd that come from? Because the right to privacy is nowhere in the federal Constitution, nor in any of the amendments. Not there. That wording, that phraseology, ain't there. So where'd it come from? If we go back, and this is in the modern era, even though there was some hints at it before. If we go back just in the modern era, there was a case called Griswold versus Connecticut. And what it had to do with was the state of Connecticut prohibiting married couples from buying birth control devices. So the Griswolds sued the state of Connecticut, claiming that they had the right to buy birth control. The Supreme Court agreed. They upheld the Griswolds, citing the right to privacy in the federal Constitution, which ain't there. But here's how they did it. And I forgot to write down the judge's name. Blackmun. I think it was Blackmun that wrote this. And he came up with this phrase, and it's stated in other cases in various ways. And he came up with the phrase of penumbras and emanations.
What?
Uh-huh. Those words aren't in the Constitution, either, at least not in my copy. It's not in there either.
Okay. You better explain it because I don't understand it.
Well, I think we can figure out what emanations means, emissions, projections, that kind of thing. Penumbra. And the emanations come from the penumbra, is kind of the way they had all that phraseology in there. Now here's what the penumbra is. It's Penumbra. Penumbra. It is that shadowy, opaque ring that you see during a partial or full solar eclipse.
Okay.
You can't see it when the sun is shining. But when the shadow is over the sun, then you get to see this kind of opaque ring around that. That's called the penumbra. And it emanates stuff. The Third Amendment must have a penumbra which is emanating the right to privacy. They use that same argument on the 14th Amendment.
Sounds to me like our courts and our lawyers today are using big words that confuses us.
I think that's absolutely correct.
You can say anything, whether it's true or not, and nobody. It sounds profound and marvelous, and you say, "Wow!"
Yeah. The biggest effect that this had was obviously a little later in the Roe versus Wade case, and that's where it was even more precisely or imprecisely used in that court case. We have the penumbras and emanations that result in the right to privacy. And so they never examined whether Roe was actually telling the truth. Roe versus Wade based on a lie and a hoax. But the court, in their effort to, what you said earlier, remake society, refashion society, they had a preconceived outcome. All they had to do was find fancy words to justify it. Right or wrong didn't matter. This is what we're going to decide, now let's try to justify it. And so they use big words that you and I don't look up. Except we did.
Making a law or a amendment in this case, turn it around, make it say what we want it to say.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like it the way it is, let's use it to say what we want it to say. And we accept that as the masses.
And what did let's go back to what Thomas Jefferson said. That this Constitution, in the hands of tyrants, will become nothing but a thing of wax. He also said, under the Constitution, that the court, and remember, the Constitution only authorizes the Supreme Court. It authorizes Congress to set up inferior courts. So inferior courts are not in and of themselves constitutional, except as provided by Congress. But he said the Supreme Court would become the most despotic branch. I think we see that, don't we?
It is proven out today.
Proven out. So those old fellows back there, they kind of knew what they were talking about.
Well, there we have the Amendment 3.
There we have Amendment 3.
Next time we will move on to Amendment 4.
Amendment 4?
Down the road, and we'll see you all back then, and